rock and roll capital of the universe. I'm in the boyhood neighborhood of Sonny Geraci, the lead singer of the Outsiders. When you talk about rock and roll music in Cleveland, this area here gave birth to a lot of great artists. Sonny Turner from the Platters grew up just a few miles from here. Screamin' Jay Hawkins, that put a spell on you, just about 5 miles west of here. Eric Carmen and the Raspberries, about 10 miles north of here. The James Gang, here on the east side of Cleveland. Michael Stanley and Edwin Starr, known as Charles Hatcher, grew up here on the east side of Cleveland when he sang War. In fact, Harvey Fuqua and the Moonglows even lived here on the east side of Cleveland when they recorded Sincerely with Alan Freed. When we talk about music coming out of Cleveland, Ohio, nobody represents Cleveland rock and roll better than Sonny Geraci and the Outsiders. For the time won't let me, here in Cleveland back in 1964. We're here at Sonny's boyhood home. This is where he got his start, singing and performing, before he went with the Outsiders and with Climax out on the west coast of Los Angeles for many years. But Sonny's here today to give us a tour of his neighborhood and where it all began for him. Hey Sonny, hey, welcome to my neighborhood.
This is it. This is where I grew up, my teen years, when I was 15, 16, 17.
What did Sonny Geraci do here in Southeast Corner?
Well, you know, before I was driving, I mean, we walked all over this neighborhood. We played in the playgrounds on the next street. And this is it. This is where I grew up. This was my world.
Now, where did you go for your formal musical training? Where did that happen?
Where did that happen? I'll tell you what. That happened in the bathrooms of Charles W. Elliott Junior High School and John Adams High School. Where we sang, a bunch of guys would get together and we start singing and doing all the songs that were on the radio, Four Seasons and everything like that, and that's how we started.
Dion and all that good
Dion and the Belmonts, so that was my favorite. If you go further down and you get into Warrensville Heights there was a pizza place called the Monica. And we'd always go up there after school and we'd order our pizzas and drink Cokes and we'd listen to the jukebox. I remember the guy that owned it, Mr. LaMonica, he'd always play Mario Alonso records, and we'd always play Dion and the Belmonts and Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. And it was great. We had a great time.
So you really had no formal musical training?
No, not really. When our first record was coming out, The Time to Let Me was first coming out, our manager hooked me up with the singing coach. And I went there for about a week or two, and he called my manager and said, listen, if I work with him, it's going to change his whole style.
And he's got a natural style.
Yeah, so he said, my manager said, forget it. So I didn't, that was it.
So you really hone your musical craft right here in the house and at school?
Yeah, on the radio. I mean, you know, when you realize when you're a kid, you're in the car and you're singing the songs that are on the radio, and you're able to do everything they're doing. Everything that the stars of the day, Bobby Rydell, people were doing, you say, I could do this. You know, and that's what gives you the confidence.
Now, wasn't there music in your family?
Well, my older brother, he played sax. I grew up on these streets. This is before I was driving a car, so I walked up and down these streets all the time.
Did you ride a bike or you take over your
bike? Earlier I rode a bike, but then we did a lot of walking and a lot of hitchhiking in those days. You don't have to you have to be scared of getting hitchhiking. We'd walk up to the corner in the winter on Harvard Avenue, we'd stick out our thumbs and get a ride immediately to Lee Road, and then walk over to Charles Elliott High School to go to school. And do the same thing coming back. And then play baseball on the playground. E.M. Williams, it's not there anymore. St. Henry's, I went to school there.
Is Charles Elliott still there?
Charles Elliott's still there, absolutely. Well, the big shopping center in those days was around here anyway. It was on Harvard and Lee. And Federal Department Store was the big store. You went there to buy clothes, you went there to buy records. There was a drugstore, Marshall's drugstore, where we hung out after school. So we go ahead and Coke after school, Coca-Cola. And smoke a cigarette, whatever, 15 years old, play Dion.
So when you wanted to buy the latest Dion 45, where would you go?
Federals, and then every now and then a record store would pop up for a little bit. We'd go in there, but mostly you had to go to department stores to buy it.
37 cents.
Yeah, it was great. You couldn't download nothing. There was no computers. There was no cell phones. There was nothing. All you had was each other, friends.
So let's take a walk over. Let's take a walk over to your junior high school then. That's when you started your singing.
This is my old junior high school, Charles W. Elliott Junior High.
Let's take a walk around the side, see if we get in. Let's go.
Now, I had a good time at my high school too, but this here one is my fondest memories, and I'm talking, God, 48 to 50 years ago. It's hard to believe it's been that long. Well, I learned to sing on the radio, driving in cars, going out, and walking the streets, sitting in the park. We'd have transistor radios. You remember transistor radios? I learned how to sing with the people that were making hit records on the radio. But then really, actually singing with people was in this school, in the bathrooms, across from the auditorium and learned how to sing. This is the auditorium where we would have a 40-minute lunch break. This is at Charles Elliott. Now we'd have a 40-minute lunch break. You'd have 20 minutes, you'd get to go to the cafeteria and you get to eat your lunch. And then they'd get you up, walk you down the hall, and bring you to this auditorium where you got to see 20 minutes of the latest movie. And it took about a week to see an entire movie. But you'd see 20 minutes of it, then it would end and you'd go back to your classroom. I remember this so well. Now, they didn't have any metal detectors when I was here. At home, you know, I would, when the relatives would come over on a Sunday or something, I would entertain them. I'd sing songs to, with the records, and they would entertain them and clap for me. So you got all your confidence, you know. And I had a lot of confidence. When I finally started going professionally, I joined a band in high school. I was scared to death to come out on the auditorium like this and play the dance. I don't remember where. And I was scared to come out on the stage because I just didn't have the confidence. Even though I knew I could sing, I just was scared of that public, of making eye contact. I didn't have that together. Took a hit record. Every movie I did, we'd come around here. The first thing we do is head for that bathroom. The boys had to comb their hair. And this bathroom was right over here, and it's still here. Nothing's changed. Looks a little narrower. We probably were a lot skinnier. This is where we go. Still big, looks big. Comb our hair is probably the same mirror. Do, 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 do. You know, a little dab will do you. Come over here, and stand in the corner and sing. Because you hear that sound? Whee! Got that nice echo, nice reverb. They just sound great.
So you sang here because of the harmony?
Oh, it sounded so good. It sounded so great. I mean, even bad singers could sound
Okay,
good.
back then, in 1961, when you were going to school here, what was the big song back then that you can remember singing right here?
Well, there was a few big ones. There was The Lion Sleeps Tonight was really big. Jay Siegel and the Tokens, and we'd sing that. Everybody wanted to do the everybody wanted to do that.
And you did that here 50 years ago?
All the time. And then Dion was really big. Frankie Avalon was big. Bobby Rydell was big. I mean, those were the people on the chart. Temptations, Four Tops, and then came a few years later. And then I got into Motown real heavy when I was in high school. And then the Beatles, of course, came, and then I was in the book.
But here, in your first singing studio.
Oh yeah, this was it, man. I'll tell you, it sounded better than any studio.
It
It sounded great in here, man. You know? The echo, everybody wanted the reverb, that echo, you know, that you get.
And listen to it, you've got it.
Yeah, that's what was so great about singing in the bathroom.
So when we see Kenny Vance the next time,
Looking for an echo.
We'll tell him to come here.
I did a show with him in New Jersey at the Meadowlands, matter of fact. And boy, he blew me away. They were so great. And that song wasn't as popular in Cleveland as it was on the East Coast. Because out there, he's God. I mean, the people love him out there. And when I heard them, I became a huge fan. I mean, that song is great. And it's perfect for what was going on back in the early 60s. Want to see my homeroom?
Yeah.
Let's go. Here's the principal's office. I spent a few times in there waiting to see the assistant principal for getting in trouble. This was the woodwork room. This was my favorite room because I loved the teacher there, Mr. Lynch. Oh my God, it was so long ago. I don't know whatever happened to Mr. Lynch, but he was my favorite teacher. Here it is, 105, King College. I never did that, because that sign wasn't there. I never thought college. I thought rock and roll. I'll never forget, I sat somewhere around here, and that song, Lion Sleeps Tonight, would be going by in the cars outside, the windows would be open, and I hear that song constantly. Never knowing that years later I would become friends with the Tokens, and with Jay Siegel and everybody, the guy who sang it. And we do a lot of shows together. We've done so many shows together. But at that time I was probably 14, never knowing I was going to meet those guys. And this was my home, Mr. Osborne. Amazing. Yeah, this is the cafeteria. Wow. Go in there, get in line, get your food if you bought it. If you brought it, you brought it. And I remember that they had something here that I loved. They had about this big, they were called butter cookies. They were incredible. I used to get a whole bunch of them, and I used to love them with milk. Butter cookies, they were fantastic. And this is where you go for study hall and for lunch. And I don't remember how many kids went to this school. There was 2 lunch periods, I think. But it still looks fairly the same. And that door there,